Awesome. So we are diving into a mind over matter masterclass. This is going to be intentionally for a place of getting out of your own way, being able to worry-free zone in terms of how you're evolving into the best version of yourself. So as we dive into topics today, as we dive into strategies, it really is meant to be an intentional reset for quarter 1, because if anyone is counting down, we've got like 2.5 weeks left. So maybe this will be a nice way to kick off the week, and or a wonderful way for us to all just be able to center and get grounded in terms of, okay, I may be doing all the outwardly strategies, but I need to be diving in and really leaning into some inward habits and strategies. So as I allow other individuals in, just make sure that you hop on. Make sure that you get a place for notes. Karma, I'm glad that you're joining us today. And again, I'll hold space for about 10 minutes for anyone else to join us, but we are going to kick off with the share. So give me a thumbs up, Nancy, if you can see when I do the magical slideshow from start. Can you see the very first slide? All right. Nancy's going to be a thumbs up. I love it. And like I said, if I see anyone else join us, just know that this will be recorded. This is recorded right now, and I will hop this onto my YouTube channel tomorrow so that you have these 50 minutes together, all in a place that you can revisit. So by design, I want you to really just take an exhale and really think about, what does mind over matter mean to you? So write down on your notes, put it in the chat. If you're watching the recording, take a second and go, why are you here today? Like, are you wanting to learn some new strategies to maybe feel more productive, or to feel like you want to create momentum? Or maybe you're here today really wanting to just settle in and go, I set the best intentions, goals, vision board, KPIs for 2025. And we're about 77 days into the year, and I kind of have forgot anything foundationally to continue habits, routines, and getting out of my own way. So whatever reason you're here, I want you to put your intention or your outcome, because I'm a big believer, and you're going to hear me in today's masterclass talking about getting out of your head and onto paper. Because I always say, like when you're just stuck in thoughts and you're stuck in that cycle, it's really hard for you to ever take forward action when you're just in a thought process. It's not concrete. So when I think about a master class, and when I mean it in the space of mind over matter, it's you managing these internal triggers and dialogues and lack of maybe habits is where I want to support you in terms of skills today. So today is going to be very much so leaning into strategies and skills and how that can look and what that should look like for you. Is not something I'm going to dictate to you. I want you to customize that to your own space of where you're at, business wise, personal wise, and life. So make sure that you connect with me via Instagram. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, this recording, if you're watching it, you're already on the YouTube channel. Make sure you give it a like and subscribe. And then of course I put content up, and just different, events and different resources and different content pieces around all things strategy, not just mindset, on the business page of Elite Entrepreneur Coach Connie Kircher. So if I do my job well and I'm stewarding our hour together well, I want you to think about, there are times, no matter how much you're proactively doing to take care of yourself, that you do feel like you're in this mental fog or this rut. Okay. And it happens to the best of us. It doesn't matter how well your business, your personal life is doing. There are just times that you wake up, or there will be weeks that you kind of, have a wake up to, and you're like, I'm just kind of stuck, or I'm really, upset with myself that I am not being the consistent, truthful person to myself, right? Like I always lean into mind over matter, is that I want you to build 100% self-trust. So write that down. Like all the strategies I talk about is ultimately getting you to the goal, no matter if it's repetition, no matter if we're going to talk about completion, no matter if we're going to talk about momentum, is ultimately for you to build self self-trust. Because what I find with my clients is the disconnect is you may set the intention, you may have wonderful, goals and again, clarity and vision, but yet your day to day or week to week is miss. It's a miss, it's a miss, it's a miss. So I want you to elevate your strategies today. I do not expect everyone on this call to go, I'm doing all 6 things tomorrow. Please, no, it's not sustainable. My encouragement as you evolve in this master class and as you watch this multiple times is pick 2. So as I lean into these strategies, as then we close out and we'll do a cross discussion, pick 2 as I talk through that are easy for you to implement, make sense for the season of life you are in. And again, all 6 of these are going to be added to your toolkit, but really intentionally making the commitment to say, okay, for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to lean into these 2 and I'm going to build self-trust on these 2. So again, equate mind over matter is 100% self-trust. And whenever I'm checking in with myself, when I feel like I'm in a rut or I feel like I'm in indecision, or again, just kind of that, just kind of like, what exactly am I doing, Connie? Like I've done the routine or I've taken care of myself, but I'm still just kind of stuck. I go, Connie, you need to rebuild 100% self-trust before you go out into your business, before you go out into the family, before you go out into that social setting. Okay. So let's lean into the very first theme, and that is endurance. Can I get an amen and a hallelujah that it takes endurance to run ourselves, right? I always say that time management or productivity is really learning how to cadence your endurance of you. So what I want you to maybe put into practice, strategy 1 is what I call immersion routines. And no matter how you time block your calendar, no matter how you have days off or days on, or how you theme your days, I want you to get really clear on deep work versus shallow work. And most of the time we spend the mornings or our first jam session, if you will, in shallow work. And I want us to break that routine where you now are setting up an hour segment 3 times a day where you are doing 40 minutes per putting a timer on, that you are doing all out focus, all out burst of deep work on a project to this word of completion. Okay. Then you set 20 minutes to go be re-energized. Go call that friend, go on the walking, go for a walk outside, or if it's chilly, go on that treadmill at home, and or do shallow work, meaning I'm going to do engagement on social media. I'm going to just check my emails then. I'm going to do stuff that does not require the brain to be wired to critically think, to make a decision, and or you're not putting the expectation of completion. So when I talk about the strategy 1 of endurance is if you can start with 3 times a day, no matter even like on days that I am quote unquote off, or they're lighter client days, or they're lighter networking days, I still expect myself to do 3 rounds of an immersion routine where I'll do 40 minutes all out working on a marketing campaign, all out cleaning out the CRM system, all out working on a slide deck for a presentation next month. And then I allow 20 minutes just to decompress, watch a YouTube video, be able to do, a scrolling on social media. And then I get back to another 40-minute jam session to completion. So what I find is sometimes because we don't have these transition times throughout our day, it's just you are constantly overflowing your 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with really no completion. So when I think about endurance, it is, got it. I'm going to move forward with 3 times a day. I do this 40-minute jam session, 20-minute jam session of shallow work by design, because you do need that dopamine. You do need that, kind of disengagement from really heavy work that, I even use this for taxes. FYI. Last week, I was like, okay, 40 minutes focus on quarter 1. And then, 20 minutes, I get to not be in tax land. Thank goodness. Then my next hour was, okay, I'm going to work on quarter 2, 40 minutes, get it next, another jam session done, no distractions, no phone calls, no laundry, nothing like that. And then 20 minutes, go do personal, go do shallow work. And then I did another jam session. So allowing yourself to have this endurance rhythm helps build capacity of deep work. It also helps you feel more comfortable instead of you choosing, because if you did an audit for all of March, I guarantee you were doing 40 minutes of shallow work and then cramming or forgetting or being too tired to do the actual deep work that completes what that project is personally, cleaning out something, organize something, doing something to move your business forward. Okay. So first strategy is the endurance immersion routine. I love to teach this in terms of 3 times a day and then go, oh my gosh, in those 3 40-minute bouts, I got more completed in terms of outreach, content, videos, B-roll, whatever the outcome was supposed to be, and allowing yourself 20 minutes to decompress by design. Okay. Number 2 is kind of a 2-prong approach of you being able to excel and elevate your productivity. So the excel your productivity is the concept I love to talk about. It's called perception of fatigue. We have become so habitual in every day you feel like I'm just okay. I'm a little tired. I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm not on my A game. Like that has become our new baseline. So then when we think about, I'm so tired to get this done, or I so don't feel inspired to get this done, you have a perception of fatigue that is typically larger than what actually happens. Okay. So what you're regulating, what you're getting more self-awareness on by putting a number on it is your central governing system, meaning this, Connie, am I actually at a 1 of fatigue or a 10 of fatigue? So 1 being, oh my gosh, I just keep saying I'm tired because it's a Monday. Like I am like 0 time. Why am I even saying that? But I've said it multiple times. I'm really at a 1. You rate yourself when you feel like I'm unmotivated, I'm undisciplined, I'm too tired. And then you give yourself a real scale. If you are genuinely at a 9 or 10, I will self-coach myself in this in terms of, excelling my productivity is I will say, Connie, you honestly are at a 9. You have pushed so hard in March. You literally have been getting 5 hours of sleep for multiple nights in a row, and you have these 2 family stressors. It's probably in your best decision to reset for a day or 2 because you're at an 8, a 9, or a 10. And I'm using those numbers really intentionally for the masterclass to say we typically can get a lot more things completed when we're a 7 or below. Like we're fine operating. We might have a little bit of like disconnect in that, but once you get going, you get energy from doing the gosh darn thing. But honoring yourself, that I have a rule that I go, Connie, if you are honest with yourself, aka self-trust, right? You're not able to skirt around and say, oh, I'm really at a 9. And I'm like, no, Connie, you're really probably at a 2. Like just get the project done. All right. But as you build self-trust and you start to really know mind, body, spirit, mind over matter, what an 8, a 9, and 10 feels like, it's amazing how then on those days, on those afternoons, on those nights, I will honor and say, Connie, I don't expect completion. You are at a level of fatigue that is true fatigue. Notice how I'm talking to myself and self-coaching that. But notice when I'm at a 5, I don't give myself a pass to be like, oh, okay, like I get to check out, or I don't have to do the edits, or I don't have to do that project because I don't feel like it. So it's helping you decipher in this strategy. If you don't feel like it is one thing. If you are genuinely fatigued, that is a separate piece for you to manage. Okay, so I love teaching a 1 to 10 scale, and you honestly being very transparent to be like, okay, really, I'm at a 3. I need to just go ahead and do a 40-minute jam session, and a 20-minute maybe reset. Okay. The second strategy in terms of elevating every single day when you're in a rut or when you're in a fatigue, or to help you start building this skill set of productivity, is making sure that you are doing decluttering of your mind. So what this means is when I start my day and I'm kind of like, okay, Connie, you feel kind of like a little discombobulated, this Monday morning, I will literally draw a house. So I will draw a square and I will put a roof on top of it. And I will put like a little, kind of X in it. So I have 4 rooms in this house. And I make myself declutter my mind and go, the theme for room 1, the theme for room 2, the theme for room 3, and the theme for room 4. And here's the overarching roof on what needs to get decluttered for today. So it gives you 5 critical action steps and or themes to declutter this mind, and not a to-do list. It's a visual representation that I name those 4 rooms in a house I draw, the roof that I call like the umbrella project for today. And then I can put little, this needs to happen, more minutia items. The reason I am teaching you this in the masterclass is please stop starting with the to-do list. You're starting with the minutia, and then you are not understanding the overarching house you are trying to complete that day. Notice the word completion. So when you clean out your headspace and you make a house of 4 rooms and then the roof, that house could be garage for the day. You know what I mean? And you're like, cool. The 4 rooms of the garage are the 2 closets, the floor itself, the car, and then maybe decorations, right? Like giving you like a real life example to go, the metaphorical house that you are trying to clean up should be labeled on that drawing. The other way I use this is if it's a business declutter time, I will go, awesome. It's for me to figure, it's for me to clean up my calendar. So I will look at canceled appointments for room 1. I will look at scheduled appointments I need to confirm. I will look at setting up my next month's Calendly link, if you will. And then my 4th room is maybe, any missed reconnects that I have let, fall through the cracks in 2025. Then I get down to making my to-do list in each one of those rooms. So it's a visual that I really want you to think through instead of just running a running list of 28 to-dos is not productive because you don't know what house you are building. And typically there's some personal, some professional, some urgent, some with no theme. Choose the metaphorical house, get 5 of those labeled, and then crank out to completion those options or those tasks. Okay. And then last but not least, before I go to the next strategy, you will hear me say, until I am 95 years old and still coaching if Zoom is a thing, right? Well, it'd probably be called something else. But get it out of your head onto paper. Here is the takeaway. Don't think it, ink it. I don't mean a tattoo. Don't think it, ink it. Being, if you are in a place where your productivity has stalled, give yourself some creative time, give yourself some space to just get a blank page in front of you, set the environment to go, this is a trigger for me to get out of my head onto paper, and I'm going to complete XYZ. I'm going to brainstorm XYZ. I'm going to set the intention for XYZ. So anytime that you have an internal cue to go, I am so overwhelmed, I'm in analysis paralysis, I'm being so unproductive in this project. Like we've all been there where we sit in front of our computer and it's been an hour and a half and we have done nothing to move the needle forward. Or we sit in the kitchen, because this again is mind over matter. We sit in the kitchen and it's like, I kind of dilly-dallied over here. I metaphorically kind of wiped off half the surfaces. Da, da, da. I literally will think and ink it and go for 10 minutes, Connie, write down everything that you want to do to deep clean the kitchen, from the fridge to the Tupperware, to the silverware, to the thing, to the freezer. And then I will get into action. That is how we need to be setting up productivity time bouts, personally or professionally. Okay. All right. Third strategy, and maybe one of my favorites, is repetition. So there's 4 concepts underneath repetition. I'm mindful for this masterclass. We are moving and grooving in techniques and skills. That's what I'm saying. Even though we're in number 3, I want you to lean into the top 2 that are most meaningful for you. So the first one is knowing that the skill set of repetition is to do 4 things. It is to keep momentum going. It is to not just build it, but keep it going. The concept I love to teach clients is you never miss twice. So let's say you're going to call someone back today on Monday, but you forgot. I then, instead of coming to myself with momentum guilt, which we all do, or shame or avoidance, I go, Connie, I have a creed that I never miss twice. So just because I forgot that task or misplaced that paper or did not respond or whatever can build more and more of a lack of momentum, I go, part of my momentum plan is I just never miss twice. So then that's the first thing I'm going to do is call Beth, right? So I have a creed that if I miss one of my checklist items, my habit tracker, my income producing activity for that day, I just make sure that I never miss twice. Because we always know after you hit that 48-hour window of it falling off the metaphorical plate, what happens? It gets harder to do. It gets more tedious to do. It gets, oh my gosh, Connie, that just became a 5-minute task to a 5-hour task. So teaching yourself, I never miss twice, allows space and grace for that day, that afternoon, but it does not allow you to stop momentum. Okay. It keeps momentum going. Second concept I want you to lean into, and again, get really, really thoughtful and concrete on this, is every single day before I let my pillow, hit my head and my head hit my pillow, is I have 5 critical action steps that I promise myself that I will do. And I have not metaphorically broke that chain for probably 5 years now. Even if it's I'm sick, even if it's I'm traveling, even if it's families in town, every single day for Connie to continue to be Connie, I have 5 critical action steps that I need to get completed. And every morning, or if I start the day at noon, right, I write those down and I make sure that I win the day. The concept of repetition is I'd much rather for 30 days you could win the day every single day for 30 days without breaking that chain than you just winning 6 times with 30 action steps that day. That's not sustainable. And everything I coach and everything I lean into and everything I research is those that understand the daily win is actually how you grow and prosper your business, prosper relationships, prosper your health journey, any type of habit, development is honestly at the 5 mark. There is research on this. A lot of people think, but Connie, I have a lot of energy today or I have a lot of time. Why don't I make my 5 critical action steps 12 things today? And then tomorrow I'll go to 3. And then the next day I'll go to 7. By allowing the flexibility, it actually confuses your mind what cadence is sustainable. Versus if I said for all of 2025 or the rest of 2025, or heck, till 2030, make a promise to yourself that you will not break the chain of 5 critical action steps. It does 2 things, my sweet friends. One, it helps you really think through the scope that you have that day. I don't write down the things that I think I might get completed that day because, again, when I think it and ink it, I am truly like, Connie, this is your John Hancock. This is your signature to yourself saying these 5 tasks are going to be completed. And I want my word to mean something to me. So that is what I mean by your daily wins, your daily W's of going win 5 critical action steps. And if some days you do have 20, super duper, it's a bonus. If some days you're like, all I can do is 5, super duper, that's the baseline. But I don't want you to drop below the floor of 5 critical action steps. Number 3 under, well, Connie, what does this mean? Like, how do I build the lifestyle, the lack of me just getting, really high highs on the first and second, third of the month. And then life happens because life be happening to all of us on this call every single day. Is I have a gamification process that I repeat until it's just an honest game. I have, a Candyland kind of looking board every single month. And then I also have a PowerPoint presentation to myself. This month, this actual 6 month is called 6-month transformation. And it literally is a PowerPoint presentation to myself where I have made all these little boxes, all these fun little colors that every time I upload a YouTube video, every time I do an outreach on a podcast, every time I hit my 20 minutes of walk and then my 20 minutes of posing for bodybuilding, like every time I've gamified this. So every day, no matter where I'm at, I can take my laptop and color in this game. Number 3 for repetition is you need a visual game to complete. My recommendation is to start monthly. Okay. So figure out again on this call, we are 17 days into this month. So maybe it's you setting up April 1 to the end of April, some type of tracking sheet that goes on your wall, some type of tracking sheet that you can cross off in color. But it teaches you that every single month, I mean, truly, my best of my best, colleagues and everything I've ever coached for my six-figure coaching business is still on a gamification. Connie, you get to color in the blue box to pink. Connie, you got to take that focus for that campaign and move it to the other side of the game board. Okay. So there is so much research and science that shows we need to make this fun. We need to make this not boring. That every month, if you reset a different game, you are playing Candyland, not oh shoots and ladders. Can I get an amen to that? Most of the time, you go month to month to month, and it's like, oh shoots and ladders. Like I kind of went up, I kind of went down. When you gamify to an end game, you're able to then play with that every single day or play with that every Friday and see actual progress being completed. Your brain needs that dopamine hit. Okay. Last but not least is carrot versus stick theory and understanding adult learning theory, right? So that is my background. I've always coached and I've always researched around, how as us adults, how do we adult? How do we keep going and growing in that skill set? So carrot theory is if you keep that carrot in front of you and you are doing positive reinforcements, you are doing, here's the next incentive, that will bring you 50% closer to your goal than the stick theory being your hand gets slapped. Think about like all the stories of if you grew up at a private school, like the stick theory of your hand getting slapped of like bad Connie. So carrot theory versus stick theory is you need to start eliminating stick theory. If you are giving yourself negative repercussions because something isn't happening, it is never going to be repeatable. Versus if you are your own HR director. So this is like a real task I want you to do from this masterclass is I want you to create like, hey, we want to know all the things that motivate you, Connie. So I need 20 projects. I need 20 things. I need 20 experiences. I need 20 gift cards. I need like, what's going to motivate you for this year? And if I'm my HR director, because I am to myself, I then make sure I submit and create a list of rewards. Because then every month I attach one or two of those to my monthly gamification of I got that work done. I got that project completed. I, phased in XYZ. I launched XYZ. But if you don't sit down, and this may be the only thing you leave with this masterclass, and it would be beautiful progress, is you have to start figuring out what and how you create those carrots for you. And most of the time when I say, well, what's your incentive to complete that this month? I don't know. Well, then your brain's not attached to any type of dopamine hit, appreciation for the hard work, and you need that. And I know everyone that comes around my type of content, we're all intrinsically motivated to do the right thing. Like, let me share that. It's not, wrong to be extrinsically motivated by something that is a dollar amount, a trip, a bag, a spa day, a professional development budget. I've even coached my clients if they're like, I don't know, like if I don't know if I really want to incentivize all the things for me. I have at times incentivized Connie, you complete XYZ. One of your rewards is you have $250 that you are going to gift to one of your colleagues or a young entrepreneur, a professional development opportunity in their industry. So it doesn't have to be you centric, but for you to create repetition, there has to be a list of rewards. They can be for other people, they can be for yourself, they can be a blend of those. But I really want to lean into that has to be part of the formula. If you say, Connie, I need to lean into repetition, that is where I am missing in my strategy for mind over matter. Do not lose sight of making that list. Okay. All right. We're at the halfway point. Exactly. We're 30 minutes into the masterclass and we're 30 minutes into the slideshow. So I'm going to go to what if you need to strengthen your habit cycle? Because everything you do is already a habit, right? You are making over 200,000 decisions every single day. Let me say that again. 200,000 decisions, actions, habits from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. Think about how many decisions and habits you just lean into in an hour. Okay. And so for most of us that are, awake for, 16 hours out of the day, it's like, oh my gosh, like most of what I do, 80% of what I do is a habit cycle, anyways. So if you're wanting to work on your habit cycle, here are the 4 processes. The first one is that you create the routine and you write down the flow. So when I think about when I get home after a day of coaching, what I want my first hour back in to just personal Connie B. I literally think about like, what do I want that flow to be of like setting the tone, getting dinner started, decompress time with Corey. Like I really think about like, what's the routine that I want that to look like? Your first step is you need to clarify that. Most of the time when we say we're going to get more healthy, we're going to, become more sales savvy. I'm like, so what does that flow look like? Like just journal out and tell me for an hour. How do you know that you're doing that habit cycle? Okay. And just let that free flow. Then going back to the reward system, there has to be a completion cue. Once that is done. So for me, because again, I constantly am working on balancing professional Connie with still being able to make time for personal Connie, is I know when I am like done with just personal Connie is I have a protein bowl with Corey and we watch a nice little 30-minute show and I'm like, cool, that's my completion cue of like personal Connie is done. And now I need to go back to self-care Connie, fitness Connie, business Connie. But that's the way that I'm like, cool. When we have that closing kind of ceremony or experience, I'm like, we have our little protein yogurt bowls and it's lovely. That's my completion cue. I don't think Corey knows that, but I do. That I'm like, I still have things I need to get to my next habit cycle. What could your completion cue be? Number 3 is you remove any of that excuse-itis. And that is a word that I've coined to go, we have to get super mindful in terms of, oh, good, I see Sandra's coming in. We have to get super mindful of removing any excuses that are a barrier to you. So moving forward, is this the appropriate context? And notice that I'm using labels like, this is fitness Connie. Well, what's my habit cycle for fitness Connie for a couple hours? This is personal Connie, right? Okay, what does that look like? This is daughter Connie. So by knowing what's the label you're putting on yourself every couple hours for that, 30 minutes, it helps you to go, when you're in work mode, stay in work mode. No guilt, no shame. When you're in personal mode, no guilt, no shame. When I'm in fitness mode, right? I don't even know I'm an entrepreneur when I'm at the gym, training, right? Like right now I'm training for about 2 hours a day, right? Because I'm 12 weeks out from my next bodybuilding show. I promise you for 2 hours, I do not look at my phone. I'm not brainstorming a presentation. I'm not thinking about that client work. I'm not thinking about my next networking piece. I remove any excuses, aka distractions, to go, you're in fitness mode right now for 2 hours. And then at noon, turn on business, Connie, turn on entrepreneur, Connie, because that's a new context. Okay. And then last but not least, what is your cue to do it again? And I love this. What are your closing procedures for all the hats you wear? Do you have like a 5-10 minute? This is what I do. I close my laptop. I take all my drinks away. I make sure that I get my calendar highlighted for the next day. I have closing procedures. I clear out any text messages or any communication I need to do, because then I know it's clean start for the next day. What's your do it again cue, so that when you're present in that context again, you have your reward available for the next one, and it just makes it easier for you get back into that routine. Okay. So I love leaning into, if you want to create a more habit cycle, maybe it's called, your habit routine. This is the 4 steps I want you to get really clean on. And Sandra, I'm super excited that you hopped on to the call. We're going to keep jamming. We're on like strategy 17. No, I'm just kidding. We're on strategy 4. We have 2 more to go. And then as I shared with everyone in the recording and the masterclass, this will be uploaded on the YouTube channel tomorrow for you to rewatch. Okay. All right, let's keep leaning in then. How is a habit built? So if you're still stuck on, I'm not sure, Connie, what even habits I want to maybe tee up for quarter 4, April, May, June, or maybe if I'm watching this recording later. I love to line item again out of your head onto paper. And I write down step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I clarify what is the habit I'm actually trying to build. It's not be healthier, it's not be more organized. I have to get super clear on what does it look like for me to complete. I then weigh this certain pounds. I then have this many subscribers. I then have X amount of time on my calendar with my family. I have whatever the completion of that habit is. I need you to put as a header, this is what it actually looks like to get done in 12 weeks. So there's a sweet spot of you creating a new habit, cycle and process about every 12 weeks. Okay. Most of us were taught it's going to happen in 21 days. You're barely building momentum in 21 days. Let's be honest. Okay. So I love to teach, build a habit for 12 weeks and then build your next one the next 12 weeks. So decide step 1 is what that goal will look like when you achieve it in 12 weeks. Then every single day. So this is what you got to break down. What could I do for 10 minutes? Okay. So it's not an hour jam session. Every single day for 12 weeks. What could I do and how could I actually, get closer to that goal? How could I actually, text 3 people if it's maybe a sales or a business goal? But it has to be simple, y'all. It cannot be overcomplicated and it has to be able to travel with you. It has to be able to be easy to access. So don't make it something so convoluted you can't do it every single day for 10 minutes. Then step 3 is when and where will I get it done? So I have many clients that set a timer and it's at, 5 o'clock every single day. And they actually go into their car to do their 10 minutes of their gratitude journal or 10 minutes of their outreach calls or 10 minutes of cleaning up their CRM system. I have clients that they'll, set a timer for noon and then they go into their closet because there's no distractions of the animals or the kids. And that's their where it needs to happen. So do not forget the environmental cue is a game changer for your mind over matter. Is if you are just running around your house or your co-working spaces or all these meetings and it's just a big blur, you're confusing how to build the new version of you. So let it be a kind of new space. Let it be in a corner, table that is, that you sit down and it's just a small chair and table in your spare bedroom. But make sure step 3 is when and where will be my cue to do that 10-minute action item. Okay. Now, every time you encounter that trigger, maybe you have a different journal that you pull ahead. Maybe you grab a different book. Maybe it's a different water bottle for you. But there needs to be an actual tangible item because if you do not see something, it is so hard to see it come to fruition when you're just thinking about it. Right? Maybe it's you have it, the vision board that you go look at or the journal that you look at. There has to be some type of visual trigger, the pair of new running shoes, the dress that you want to fit in for the vacation that is, is part of the incentive program. There has to be a tangible item attached to this. I have someone that has an umbrella. I can't make this up. She is all about she's like, I just want to go and enjoy all the jungle and the fun and the rainy season of Costa Rica. And I'm like, cool, that's going to be your incentive. She has an umbrella by the door that every time she does her action step for her business, she looks at that umbrella. She's like, that's my travel umbrella to Costa Rica. I can't wait. And that's just a fun visual representation for her to be like, I cannot be waiting that when I need that and I'm walking through the little rainy jungle time and then I'm going to enjoy the hot springs. That's my visual representation. It has to have deeper meaning than I just want to build a new habit cycle for myself. Okay. Most importantly, is on the calendar. There needs to be a graduation date. There needs to be a celebration date. I always say as solopreneurs and as entrepreneurs, I have the best, team appreciation days with me, myself, and I, that I'm like, Connie, you completed that 12 weeks out. So if it's a fitness goal, it's a family goal, it's a financial goal, there needs to be a celebration graduation day. It could be with yourself. It could be with your accountability partner. It could be with your team. But when you set that step 1, you already book out and look at what day is your 12 weeks day out. The reason step 5 is so important is that we get lost in weeks and weeks and weeks, and we get lost to be like, countdown is like, I don't know, I've been doing this for 4 weeks, I've been doing this for 8 weeks. It becomes a blur. Why some of the pieces for you to get to completion are amiss is there is no excitement about this celebration moment. There's no excitement about your graduation and actually turning the tassel. How did we all get through senioritis in high school? Like, think about, like, we weren't even fully developed humans, but because we had a graduation point that actually meant something, we got through our last year. Okay. And then after that graduation day, 2 days later, I actually have a meeting on my own books that I'm like, cool, Connie, what's the next gig? What's the next habit you want to set? And it's a formal meeting with myself that, again, I give myself 2 days to kind of like, okay, cool. Like I cranked out that habit. I know what that habit looks like for me now. What's going to be my next one? And I start this cycle again. So here's a tangible way in this masterclass to break down how do I actually build a habit. Okay. Now, in between all of those, there must be a sense of urgency. So this is my final strategy. This is my final, like, we're at the finish line. You can see the checkered flag. Stay with me on these two. If you've never used the 15-day month strategy, you've never coached with me. Welcome to the Connie Train. There is an activity that I want you to act as if you only had 15 days in a month, not 30. And I want you to act as if all your meetings, your productivity, your fitness, your savings, your outbound, whatever, creation of deliverables or marketing collateral only could be done on day 1 through 15. And I want you to tangibly mark off the 16th through the 30th as 2 weeks vacation. Okay. I lean into this so hard because as I've evolved the best version of myself and becoming more productive and becoming more efficient in me running me and my businesses, I truly now only work, quote unquote, work 6 months out of the year because I have evolved to go, cool, Connie, instead of you using all 30 days to get that completed, what if you only worked 15 days out of the month? Condensed your sessions, condensed the work time, and you weren't, quote unquote, allowed because of you to work the last 2 months. Now, practically, I know that is not black and white, but please lean into this activity. Because if I said, because you all know, I live in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, right? If I said, hey, everything has to be completed by the 20th of April. Everything that was pending, 20th of March, everything that has been pending this month, you got a couple of days left. You have 3 days left. And I will pay for you to come and swim with the dolphins on our boat. Do you know what would happen? That sense of urgency and deadline would magically make you get done the 3 days of stuff that you probably have been like avoiding for 3 months, let's just be honest, and you would be on a plane ride down here in 3 days. We need to start training ourselves as if you have a hard stop in the middle of the month and you metaphorically go get a personal retreat. You metaphorically go and take a bout of a week off, a day off, 2 weeks off. I am telling you, there is so much research that leads into Parkinson's management theory that it comes from a leadership study that they had 2 separate teams and they had the amount of skill sets, the amount of resources, the amount of decisions to make for these projects. And they gave team A 3 months to get it completed. And then they gave month B 1 month to get it completed. And you know what happened? The 3-month group waited until 2 months and 22 days to actually get it done. And it wasn't any better because of that amount of time. You know what happened with team B that only had 1 month to get it done? They felt a sense of urgency. They got it done actually earlier. And it was even better because it didn't diffuse what needed to be completed. I am sharing that with you because we need to start treating ourselves and leaning into Parkinson's management theory to go, instead of giving yourself 6 months to get it completed. You know what happens when I say, can't we just get that completed in 3 months? Scope creep doesn't happen. A sense of urgency happens. And again, I always like to say the, the vacation test to go, could you get that done actually in a month? Like, could you get the website copy reiterated and all the edits done in a month and then, take a week off? Like, could you set it up metaphorically like that? It's amazing when you create a stronger deadline and a shorter timeline. You don't have a diffused energy to go, I'll just let that get done at the end of June. Okay. So those are the last two strategies I want you to lean into is maybe April, you cross off the last 2 months or 2 weeks of April and you go, I'm going to run the same business, the same financial goals, the same fitness goals, the same, personal experiences. And I'm going to run a 15-day month strategy and see what it feels like to be Connie. It's awesome. Okay. Cause then you have like 2 weeks that are just kind of like you kind of, adapt with them and see what you could be flexible with. And you have more white space on your calendar. You will become more efficient and effective. Okay. And then let me reinforce the Parkinson's management theory. If you have had a deadline of something that is so far, far out, far fetched, I'm going to say cut it in half and cut it in half again. And it will be amazing what you will do when you say, super, Connie, by April 15th, I'll get X done. Everyone always says April 15th is tax day. I've never believed in that. You know what tax day has done for me? It is February 15th. And I know no different because then I have cut that timeline into half to create a sense of urgency, a sense of completion. Again, that's so important. And a sense of like, cool, I don't have to worry about those things being lingered and lingered and lingered on an arbitrary deadline. Okay. So as we close out, again, we have 10 minutes to decompress and cross share and ask some customized questions. Everyone can go, off of, just video share, and we'll actually talk the last 10 minutes in this recording. But I always love to, just tee up before we share. I want to hear what resonated with you. I want to hear what inspired you and or what your CTAs are, your calls to action. So take a couple seconds. If you're watching the recording, feel free to put those in the comments. Again, if you are live on this masterclass, we're going to share here in a second. And I love to share about that next opportunity and invitation is that we will continuously do these free complimentary masterclasses up until July. All right. Then I have once a year, a 90-day group coaching experience where then we take a masterclass every single month. We actually do daily accountability checks to get your critical action steps completed. We do a monthly goal review, and then we actually have this private community where I am sharing with you what it is to build momentum for 90 days. So I run these for 6 months, fully complimentary, get you excited, and then placehold to go in the middle of summer when you have summer dog days and you're like, oh yeah, I know that Q3 has always been the lowest for me. I always run this 90-day better than before, the best version of yourself, whether you have fitness goals, financial goals, business goals, all walks of life come into this group community. It's 3 months and then you're out of that boot camp, out of that type of accountability, because then you will finish 2025 strong. If that is something you want to hold a spot for today, I would love for you to put habit in the comment section and or in the comment section if you're watching the recording, and we will make sure that you get signed up for the July 1st date. It may seem far away. It's not. It is only 4 months away for you to kick off an entire quarter where you could be working on some of the things we just talked about, but then you really leaning into what next steps could be. Okay. All right, Karma, I love it. I will make sure that you get details and next steps. I am going to stop the share. And everyone watching the recording, make sure that you put your takeaways in there. I'm going to go round robin, and we're going to start with Nancy. And then Nancy, I would love to hear, sweet friend, your calls to action, clarity, and then we're going to go to Melissa.
Okay, my call to action is I'm going to do that 15-day working on 15 days
Calendar. Yes.
Because basically what I do is I'm also to another takeaway is just knowing that, well, you have a system. I don't know if you call it a system or whatever, but something that it's a routine that you do and you make sure that you're getting it done. So the thing of it is like I go up and down on things. I'm not really focused, but this can really help me create a business and also a life that I love.
Yeah. And it's sustainable. And the word that I'm like, I want you all to be obsessed with is completion. I have
Right.
100% self-trust with Connie Kircher LLC, managing Connie Kircher LLC, that I want to see self-trust built every single year, personally and professionally. So good, Nancy. Awesome. Thank you for processing. Melissa, then Sandra.
So I really appreciated checking in on yourself as far as like how overwhelmed you really are.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when you're at like a 9 for consistent reasons,
Yeah.
that sometimes when you get to a 5, you still like, you don't have enough bounce back
Yeah.
necessarily to get to that you don't feel because you're not at a 0.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And so just really to start to kind of check in and say, okay, you've now gotten past the 9. Are you really at a 6 or a 7 now? And maybe you could up your game. And maybe by upping that game, then you then in turn get closer to that 0 again.
100%. 100%. And I find, Melissa, by having a number, not words, is so helpful, right? Because even if I'm at a 1 or a 9, I'm tired. Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
Even if I'm
Yeah.
at a 1 or a 9, I'm a little overwhelmed. But it's the gauge of, Connie, then we need to truly go offline if I'm an 8, a 9, or 10. That I want to respect and honor that space of my productivity, my energy, my what do I expect. But if I'm at a 3 or 4, and to your point, if I've been operating in survival at an 8 or 9, I
Yeah.
sometimes really have to shift in that. I love it.
Yeah. And then the second thing is as far as like I've always thought about like, like where do you put your planner in order to check it? Where do you what
Mm,
is the cue? But I've never really thought about like actual environment as like, are you going to the same room for this activity? Are you doing this activity? Does it have a home, quote unquote? And I never thought about it that way.
Yep. Yep. And it doesn't matter where you live, where you go, where you travel. I have my stack of my journal, my calendar, and then my monthly notepad, which you can't see there. And again, I live full time on a boat, right? Like I'm super mindful that in the V birth, when I pick up those 3 books and then I have my little colored pens, I'm like, hey, Kircher, that's entrepreneurial. Like no matter what is going on personally, whatever, that is entrepreneurial cue to be like for 30 minutes, for an hour, you are just in work entrepreneur mode. I don't care if I'm going to a co-working space, if I'm traveling, whatever. When I get those 3 binders and those pens, I'm like, got it. That is the focus and what's right in front of me.
Yeah, I
Good.
appreciate that one.
Good, Melissa. Good. So, so good. Okay, Sandra, it's nice to meet you. And I know that you came in per, things building from strategies, but I'd love to hear your takeaways and if you have any questions.
Okay, so I came in, I was like, oh, okay, like atomic habits, got it, correlating things to others.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I'm like, yeah, that needs to get done. So new tax day is next week on the 25th before my dad's birthday.
Good job.
So that can be done.
Yes.
I actually went ahead and picked out like 4 different goals that I want to create in the next year. And for the first one, I just call phase 1. I put what it is, which is technically marketing, and I associated those with things that I already either do or want to like fit into my schedule more than once a week, and thought about how I could flip that around.
Yes.
Because after hearing about 16 days, that would make sense because that makes more sense with my schedule because I love what I do for work, but I also love all of my hobbies.
Yes.
So I thought of a ways that I can work on my marketing after I go to the gym, which is my way to kind of like get myself back into myself.
Yep.
After I visit my mom, which is like
Yep.
really important to me because she's been very ill for several
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And I figure that that can be like something that I already can do on one day per week. But if I just switch one little thing, I could do it twice a week
Yep.
so that it's not just like this part of marketing, but like the other part that also needs to like
Yes.
happen for it to
Get
work
completed.
together.
Get completed. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's the one that I thought I would work for the next 12 weeks. And then I just thought of like 3 other ones to work on later this
Good.
year.
Good. Good.
And yeah, that's what I did.
And
I'm like, I caught
Sandra,
up real quick.
you're like, I got it. Yeah, I'm here. I'm the best student. You're like, I got an A+ for this. Sandra, my encouragement from the practicality is then, pin the date of like, I'm going to start this new marketing, habit cycle for 12 weeks. Pin the date literally, whether that be like June 7th. Okay. Then June 9th, already put on your calendar. June 9th, mark it out for 12 weeks. Let's say that goes till September 6th.
My graduation date, I marked as a day that I'm supposed to go on a trip.
Yes. And now you have 4 trips, not being like, I hope I get to that goal. And I hope to, and it's like, they're already on the books. Like that graduation day, that celebration day is already on the books. And then I already have my beginning date instead of like, well, I'll see how this goes. I'm like, no, you don't see how it goes. You pin the end date and then you reverse engineer that every single time you build a habit, every time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
good, Sandra. My pleasure. Well, my encouragement then is, again, I'm going to be hosting these free backstage passes. It will be different next month, so get super excited. I'm going to tell you the next month for the masterclass. Drum roll, please. Is Monday. It will be April 14th. It will be 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So make sure that you mark your calendar. And then again, I will run those in May and June. And then, of course, we will take these offline and I will start doing the 90-day Better Than Before. Sandra, if you want information on that, friend, and next steps to join the Better Than Before, if you'll drop your email address, that would be awesome. I know it sounds like she's going to Pilates with you in just a little bit. But feel free to put your email address in the comment section or just directly send that in the chat. Nancy, I got your message. So thank you for that call to action. And then again, I hope everyone watching the recording, this was deep and meaningful. And my encouragement is to only pick 2. Because if you get overwhelmed by trying to do mind over matter, it's going to be a mess. Today was supposed to be a masterclass, not a mess. Okay. So Nancy, do you have any other closing questions, thoughts, or input?
Did you say like April 16th, that date is
It's
like
April 14th. Yep. It's April 14th, Monday. And it's 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time will be another complimentary, free, different content than we talk about today. And then I'll be doing 2 more until we actually kick off the group in July.
awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so
Yay!
much.
Nancy,
This
so
is-
good. I will make sure. Yeah, this was a good re-energizing step for March.
Yes. Yeah.
Good, Nancy.
And I
I'll be
love the
emailing you.
direction.
Yes, my pleasure. Sandra, I will be
Okay.
emailing you, friend. Have fun in Pilates land. I love your background. I love your reformer. It's awesome. All right, ladies. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for watching the recording. See you all later.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks,
And
Nancy.
so when will the recording be up?
Tomorrow at noon Mountain Standard Time
Okay,
will be the
great.
lanest. Yep.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Watch
Bye.
it again, Nancy.
I
Thank
will.
you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.